Welcome to, what is it, August. Holy crap, it's already August. I hope you're working on your goals, because January is coming real fast. Everybody, if I could get your attention to the front of the room, please. If they're still talking, that means you, Steven. All right, again, welcome. It's good to see everybody. I know we were just doing this, it feels like, last week at the Mission Inn. So, who went to the Mission Inn? All right, what'd you guys think? Great. Good time? All right, well, we're doing it again in October. So, October 26th, put it in your calendars. And let me get to the front of my slideshow here. So you guys are in for a treat tonight. Again, we're talking about negotiating with sellers. We're going to have Evan Brown, Andy Teasley, Charlie Hustle, and Mr. Jim Keller up here in a little bit. Basically, we're going to do like 10-15 minutes for each person. And then once they're done talking, we're going to hold all the questions until the end, okay? So we're going to do a Q&A at the end so that everybody kind of gets through and can talk about what they prepared tonight. We'll just go through this slideshow real quick while you guys are eating. So this event is sponsored by PropStream. If you're not familiar with PropStream, you can go to propstream.iereic.org and you get a free trial. It's basically, if you've used Property Radar before in the past, or for you agents out there that use some of these the MLS systems, it's kind of like that. It draws a lot of data, and you can pull owners' data, and you can pull, you can skip trace, you can pull all kinds of stuff. You can actually pull flipping data also. So it kind of calculates like what the average house was bought in the neighborhood, and then if it was flipped, it gives you like the estimated profit and what they sold it for. It's a pretty cool system. So if you use that link, again, you get a 7-day trial. And then there's some other links in there too. Get to that in a second. We had a few sponsors, so if you haven't heard me say it before, all of our sponsors are vetted. We don't just take people that come in and just say, I want to throw money at you and never show up. So they're all people, they're all members first before they're allowed to become sponsors. So we vet them, we use them, and see what their services are like before they ever become sponsors. So one, we have Sir Cash Deals, which is Evan and my company. If you're looking for wholesale deals that pencil, you can sign up at sircashdeals.com. If you're looking for tiny homes, we have Back Porch Homes, which is Stephen McKee and Todd Bayer's company, the original founders of the club. Mike Monge is not here, but I didn't see him. Nope, but we have Trillion Capital if you're looking for hard money. Travis Safon is our insurance sponsor. If you're looking for some great insurance, talk to Travis. And I did see Yesenia back there. If you're looking for an escrow company that knows their stuff and gets it all done. Yesenia, if you want to stand up and wave to everybody, just do your best man of white. And again, if you've been a member for a while and you are interested in sponsoring, come talk to me. We're always looking for more. So with that, there's some quick links there. We call them the lead generation links. Basically, those are the 3 systems that Evan and I are using on a daily basis to generate and fill our wholesaling and flipping business. So you can go to any of those links.com. You either get a free trial or some free credits, and it helps to support the club as well. And we added a lot of events this year. There's still a lot coming up. We changed exchangers to every single Thursday, so if there's ever any confusion on when an event is being held, you can look at the calendar. That calendar is at events.iereic.org, or just go to the website and find it. And it's got a nice little, grid with all the dates on there. So, let's see. And like I said, tomorrow is Exchangers. If you haven't been to Exchangers, I would highly recommend it, whether you think you have something to bring to Exchangers or not. It's basically a deal-making meeting. We also do haves and wants at that meeting. So if you guys, it's in the office, it's hybrid, it's on Zoom, and it is in the office as well. So if you want to come in person, you need to talk to Farah. Farah, raise your hand. And if it's on Zoom, it's free. And the links go out automatically to everybody, so just look for an email around 10 o'clock tomorrow, and you can join via Zoom if you want to. But that is hosted by Andy Teasley, and it's a great meeting. It's one of our most popular meetings at the moment. That's why we made it weekly. And then this, the 4th Wednesday, I'm not sure which date that is, so I don't want to say the wrong one. But it's the 4th Wednesday of this month, the Mentor Mixer. So if there's, again, it's kind of like our sponsors, we have club mentors. that are vetted and they know what they're talking about. So if you have questions that are maybe don't get answered tonight or that don't have to do with negotiating sellers, you can come to the Mentor Mixer. It's on Zoom. It's free. You can get all your questions answered by some local experts. It's 24th. Thank you. And we are doing Saturday coffee this month. That'll be on the Saturday before, which would be the 20th. Is that what you said? So that's in Riverside. It's downtown. We do it at, geez, I can't remember the name of that place. Barrett, what's the name of that place? Back to the Grind. Thank you. Sorry. It's been a month. I forgot. So Back to the Grind coffee in Riverside. Come on down. It comes with the coffee and danishes and stuff like that. So if you remember, just show up. If not, I think it's like 10 or 15 bucks to get in. And then in this room, we'll do cash flow. That's the first. So a month from now, we'll be doing cash flow game night. We alternated with the round table. So a month from now, we'll be in this room again, but we'll be playing cash flow. Last time we had, I don't know, like 65 people and like 13 games going. So we filled this whole room with people playing cash flow. So it's a really good time if you haven't played cash flow. It's basically kind of like Monopoly, but it teaches you how to be like a cool person and not a jerk. It teaches you basically like if you're new to this, I'd highly recommend cash flow. It really teaches you how to like work with people and get creative and do deals that you'd be surprised how much it mirrors actually doing a deal in real life, just in a board game. And we'll be back at the Mission Inn on October 26th. And I'm going to start announcing this now. Last year, for those of you that were around, we did a holiday breakfast party in the morning. And that'll be on December 10th this year. So that was a good time. We had a 50-50 raffle. We gave away a ton of prizes. My mom loves doing raffles. I don't know where she went. There she is. Raise your hand, mother. She did a ton of raffles. We're going to do it again this year. We did breakfast burritos. We did all kinds of stuff. So we're going to do it at Back Porch Homes' showroom again. But they have moved. They now are at Anheuser-Busch, the old Anheuser-Busch factory in Riverside. So we're going to do it there. We're going to go a little bit bigger this year too. So, but that is December 10th. Put it in your calendar now.
What time?
There's a lot of parties.
What time?
9 a.m. December 10th, 9 to 12. And you have to be present to win raffles. So. That'll be at Back Porch Homes' factory in Riverside. Back Porch Homes? Yeah, in Riverside. So right now, if you were to Google it right this second, it still comes up as the old Anheuser-Busch plant. If you Google Back Porch Homes, it'll come up in San Bernardino, so don't do that right now. Wait until December. And then for those of you, who are my members out there? All right. Right on. So if you're not a member, you can become a member for $25 a month. You get into all these events for free. You get access to our Facebook group, so you get help any time of the day, whenever you want. Post on the Facebook group. People are always up. You get a name badge, T-shirt, all kinds of stuff. You also get forms and contracts for those who want to get started. And we also do members-only events that are only posted in the Facebook group. They're not posted on Meetup or anything like that. So if you want access to that, you can become a member. You can go to the website, join.myaric.org. Again, it's $25 a month. So you probably do the math. Is that?
You're fading.
I'm fading? I'm getting tired already? I haven't even been up here for 10 minutes yet. And that is Mr. Travis LaFawn, our insurance sponsor. Everybody give Travis a round of applause. So if you need insurance, talk to Travis. And with that, we're going to get moving here. So Mr. Evan Brown, if you guys haven't been familiar with Evan, he's my mentor, he's also my stepdad. So I would highly recommend everything he's saying because we do it every day. So without further ado, let's give Evan a hand round of applause.
Can everyone hear me? Does that work? Okay. All right, everyone hear me now. All right.
I got to turn the projector off.
Yeah. I can do hand puppet things, but some of them are not suitable for all ages. First of all, I welcome. I'm really excited tonight about what we got covered. I invited a couple of our other mentors and some of our friends to come in and speak to about negotiation and what works for them and what they do in their business. So all these guys that are speaking are rock stars in what they do, tons of experience. For example, later when Charlie Hustle speaks, he's going to be talking about like tonality and body language and stuff like that. I don't know too many people better than Charlie on that subject and overcoming sellers' objections. So that's something awesome. And so everyone that's going to be talking tonight are not, it's not theory, it's not something that well, I heard this works. It's stuff that they've actually done. What I did is I went and updated a couple things that I used. For those of you who got it, I know we ran out. It's just it's like a cheat sheet. And those of you who know me know that I don't use scripts really. I did in the beginning because I wanted to get an idea on what to, I wanted to be able to keep my train of thought when I'm nervous talking to a seller, right? In the beginning, what do I say? How do I do this? So we eventually narrowed that down to just some questions. So that helped to bring up in the conversation. But the main thing I want to talk about, negotiation, talking to sellers, is that the entire time really about is building a relationship and getting them to trust you and just building the rapport. Because if they don't trust you, they don't like you, they ain't doing business with you, I don't care what your price is, they hate you, it's just no. So understand that, what you're trying to do. Also, a lot of times negotiation can be broken down to what is the problem and solve the problem. And that's really only half the story. You can make a lot of mistakes with that. It's really finding out what the person with the problem, maybe it's a house, maybe it's a probate issue, someone died. It's really what are they going to do? What are their needs? What are they interested in? Because if you just buy their house and they were homeless after that and they're living in a car, you didn't really solve the problem. You just gave them some money. You follow me? So that's why some of us have literally bought houses and then helped the person go get an apartment and literally went down there as they're signing a lease agreement to help them because they didn't know. And we had to help them. So understand it's not just on what does someone need, it's also it is specifically on what they need and what you can do, not just buying a house. So anyway, those of you who have this, I wanted to go over a couple things. One of the first things I had to decide was if I wanted to be, when I was talking to a seller or negotiating, was, is it just me, Evan Brown, speaking, little old me, or is it a company? So when you're talking to someone and you're in front with a seller, do you want to represent that it's just you, or that you have a large company, small company or large company? So a lot of times when I'm talking to a seller, I'll be letting them know that if I know that there's the open doors and there's other companies out there, I'll let them know that we're a small local company. My wife and I and my sons, we're flipping, buying property in the area, and I want them to know that we're really more intimate, more local, and we're not some big hedge fund, okay? Because that, a lot of people, that's key for them right now. We're reading this, hearing about it. But there are times I want them to know that we're big enough to handle and we do a lot of deals. So you're playing in that, you got to decide a little bit what I found that helped me versus just thinking I was out being out in the wind. So I'm going to read a couple things on here. One of the first things I'll say when I'm talking to someone, I want to set the tone, and then I'll let them know it. I go, in many cases, we're the best option for most people. Sometimes we're not. One thing is we do win-win deals. When we're done, we'll have a better idea of your home, what your home is worth. And if we can't help, we'll point you to someone who hopefully can help you. I said I plan on giving you a few options. Having options and some good information never hurt anybody, right? And I'll usually start that just so you know who you're talking to. I'll do that. But really, once I've done that, I go to one question, and that question is, why don't you tell me what's going on? So, and I'll leave that when I'm talking to them. Why don't you tell me what's going on? And even if I already know the answer, because maybe I had a phone call already, I will do that again. Yesterday I was in a house in Apple Valley, walked up, known them for years, and it was, why don't you tell me what's going on? Okay, or a version of that, because it's like, well, I just told you yesterday. So it's like, why don't you elaborate a little bit more, because now there's both of you. Maybe I talked to the wife, I didn't talk to the husband, and so that's what we're doing. So I'll ask them, and usually if they start talking about the house, or they'll start talking about all the money problems and how they're being sued and they don't know what to do and their fears, and you get an idea of how to handle them, okay? Because they're different. Some people it's just about the money. And some people it's like, I don't know what to do, can you help me? I was on the phone for 2 hours today, 2.5 hours with 2 different sellers, walking them through our offer, negotiating with them, and then explaining how we can help them and trying to solve some things. So with me, again, when I go, why don't you tell me what's going on, I use that and I listen, which I have a real hard time to do in my personal life. But in business, when we're doing, stop and listen, because they're going to tell you all the keys of what's going on and how to talk to them, okay? So you're going to know, well, I got to do this probate thing. Do they have the money to start a probate? Some attorneys, believe it or not, want that first $1,500 or $1,000. They want that to get started. We've met a few of them. We're working a couple now. They want something to get started. And they're like, I don't have the money. On Saturday, we're going to go sit down with someone with an agent who they went and just got a notice of default. They're losing their house, and they don't have the money to start the probate because their mom died over a year ago. And I kind of kept hearing about this deal, and finally I called and said, why don't we sit down and I can talk about how I can help you? Because what we'll probably do is write a check to start probate. Okay? So again, listening to what is going on, sometimes listening to what's not going on, and trying to figure that out, and then seeing how you can help. And sometimes it's like, do you have the money to start probate? Is that a problem? And people are embarrassed, so you want to be nice about it, but we've had to do that lately on a couple times, or a few times. So a lot of times it's just asking that question, and they'll go, yeah, I don't have the money. Oh, okay, maybe we can help, okay? You follow me? Okay. So one of the things I want to say is that when you're talking to someone, let me ask you, if I could help you and I sell your house, and I'm able to make an offer and buy your house today, what's your plans? What are you going to do? And listen, see what they're going to tell you. Usually a seller, believe it or not, when they're losing their house, will lie to you the first couple of times on what they're saying. Oh, I'm just thinking about selling, but they're literally going to lose their house because they're going to tax auction. Well, and usually you'll ask them 2 or 3 times different ways what's going on in your life, and going back to that and listening, and then ask them, well, again, what are you doing with the money, or what are you going to do, where are you going to go? Are they fleeing the state? Are they going to downsize? Or is this just a second home to them, or it's their mom's home, they just don't have the money to upkeep it? What are they going to do with it? Today, while I was talking to a seller on the phone, and they're literally buying out of state, and I was on the phone with them and talking to them, and I gave them an option, like, well, what are you going to do with the money? And one of the things with it is that I offered, one of my options when I offered to them is for them to carry back some paper, seller financing. And we proceeded the next 30 minutes talking about that, and so far they're really excited about that. So that's going to go into one of my other things in a minute. So there's a lot of questions that people ask. Pete Fortunato was known to say, why are you selling such a nice house like this? There's a lot of questions you can ask as you're dealing with that. But what I find that when I'm going to negotiate with someone, one of my better tips that I learned from one of the gurus, that it was effective, is if I'm finally, after talking to the person on the phone and hearing them out, I go meet them. I love meeting with people in their house. I want to go in the worst room of the house and talk to them. So when they can tell me why they should get top dollar, and there's literally a ceiling caving in and you're dodging the water, okay, because it's rain. I've done it. Some of you guys have done that. I know you've done that. And they're saying, no, my house is fine. And you're like, okay. Miguel and I recently were in a house that we told the story before, had 55 dogs. And the lady was literally just telling us all she needed to do was paint. And we're like, okay. We fled that house, watery eyes, for 3 days. It still was on us. It was sad. Because there's a mental illness out there. And so people don't always see that there's a problem with their house, but most people do. So one times when we're talking to them, you want to go in the worst house with the biggest foundation crack, or a hole in the ceiling, and then talk to them and negotiate the price. Are you sure you can't come down on that a little bit? Or can you explain to me where you got that $500,000 valuation on your house, why you think that, as you're, again, dodging the water, okay? It's a lot harder. It's like, well, the house that sold across the street for $550 didn't have a hole in it. You got to be respectful. I'm just bringing it up. They'll know what you're doing. So that's one of the things that you want to make sure that you're doing. Is that's just a technique that I do to make sure you go in the worst room with the worst smell and negotiate and talk to them a little bit. It takes a little bit off when they're trying to get that impossible price. So just keep that in mind. And again, what I'm talking about is finding out what the seller needs. And that's one of the biggest things, again, that I'm going to say it again and again, is that find out what they need, and what they're doing after the property, what they're doing with that. And you're really trying to make that happen. And like people today, when I was talking to the second person, on the phone, this was all the money her dad had. So if we sell the house, that's everything to take care of him for the rest of his life. I mean, what if he lives for 30 more years? So it's people's lives, but at the same time, you're trying to let them know that considering the condition of the house and what's going on and their problems and what they're doing and how you can help them, you're trying to explain, well, the best way to help them. And one of the things we did today, for example, is a lot of times we'll give someone multiple options, multiple offers. Like, well, what if we could buy the house? This didn't come up today, this part. But what if we were to buy the house and allow you to stay in the house for 60 days or 90 days while you're taking care of that family problem, decluttering, figuring out what you're going to do with that? What if we came to an agreement knowing that in 60, 90, or 120 days, we're going to close on that day, or we'll close on any day you want? Yesterday, I talked to the seller, and I actually did a 14-day revolving close because they're buying another house out of state. Like I said, I was talking to them yesterday and today. The sellers of their house that they're getting out of state, they're having a house built. And the key is with that house being built, they don't know when it's going to be done. Sometimes September, October. I said, well, why don't we come to an agreement on the house? We'll set it up and we can close. I just need 2 weeks notice. So we'll set everything up, open escrow, etc., but we're not going to close until you say, hey, we're ready to close. Because they don't know. But this way, this part of it is off their plate. They don't have to worry, are we going to sell our house? What's going on in the market? It's done mentally. We're in escrow. I'm not going to back out. We know where we're going to be. And so that they know they can do that. Give them options. And when options, I don't mean just, I can give you 90 grand or 50 grand or this. Give them options specifically like what I was just saying. There's all cash, ask for seller to carry paper, partner with seller, maybe cash with another property. I was with one of the guys one of the members where he was offering a free and clear house to the seller and some cash. And I was like, well, would I have thought of that? Well, hey, I was like another property, because where are they going to go? Because again, that's what he was getting to. It's not just the money, what are they going to do? People are afraid a lot of times. They've been in the house for 45 years and they're moving for the first time. Anyone afraid of that? I'm sorry, that can unnerve a lot of people. So what happens is you want to assuage that a little bit, and if you can help them get through that, you're really solving a problem, okay? So again, the main thing I'm talking about is going back to is building trust. Ask them to tell you what's going on in their life so you know what's going on, okay, and how you can help, how you can listen, what you can do. And at the same time, figure out your solutions on how it's going to serve their interests, okay? How it's going to get them what they need, okay? You follow me? Because remember, the person that you're talking to is not your enemy, it's a partner. You're trying to solve a problem. And what I like to do, one of the other things I like to do is literally sit with a seller and say, Mr. Seller, I'd love to give you what you're asking. You want your $800,000, but if I can show you that the houses that are much larger and with a view, etc., are going for $850, I'd love to show you how this works, and then go over how much we have to rehab. And I would literally subtract and do the math in front of them so they can see it's not me not wanting to give you what you want, it's the numbers. Can you help me solve that? And a lot of times we've done deals with that just by running numbers down, and they can see, and they're like, oh, okay, it's taking a lot of the argument. They understand. I'm not trying to scam them. I'm not trying to steal their money. You're basically, or steal the house. You're basically showing them how you got to your number, why it's justified. Okay. One of the things you guys know that we do is I say, look, you can go ahead and here's my all cash offer. You can use an agent, sell it, you'll get $50,000 more, because I'm showing them how I'm solving their needs with the problem. Is it a cash issue? Is it a time issue? Do they need to flee the state? Okay, literally, I'm bringing that up because we literally just had someone being stalked in property, and they said, Evan, I gotta go. We gotta get out of this. I have an ex-boyfriend stalking me and fled. It does happen. That wasn't a purchase, that was a rental, but it does happen, and it's on my mind right now. But so anyway, just again, what is going on in the life, not just the transaction. Tell me about the house. Oh, you want how much? I can do this, okay? No, it's far more than that. It's like, Louis, let me tell you, after this is done, what are your plans? And you might find out that he starts talking about he's going to do A, B, or C, whichever. And then later you ask him again, and he might change it. And you ask him again later in another way, and you'll find out that he changed it again. And you find out that they're literally losing this house, they're getting a divorce, son's fighting cancer, everything's collapsing around, and they're frozen and they don't know what to do. Or they're fighting with their siblings, and they're trying to figure out what they're doing for dad, and they don't know who to go to. So they call you, and you're here trying to give them options. So today, Angela was listening to me talking to someone I went to high school with. Your sphere of influence, people. I was in the house yesterday. That was someone that Angela went to high school with. Today I was on the phone with someone I went to high school with. These were more than 5 years ago. You know, these relationships, they go way back. So make sure people know what you do. And one other thing is, again, give multiple options to people. But if the seller's being difficult in a negotiation and you're just not getting there, or maybe they're like, just tell me the number. Just tell me the number. They're saying, Angelica, just tell me the number. Sometimes you want to pull the whole thing from underneath them. You just talk and go, you know what, Angelica, you know, my partner and I, you know, we buy a lot of these houses, but he really has final say, and I'm not sure that he's going to even want to make an offer on your house. Why don't we, you know, let me go talk to him, and why don't we give you a call tomorrow? And just stop it. Because now they're questioning, they're like, what's wrong with my house? Why won't you give me an offer? And sometimes you got to pull it. You just do. And sometimes that's enough to do it, and there's various ways to do it. But sometimes pull that offer if if you're having a real hard time with it. And if they still insist, well, you sent me a postcard, you said you'd buy my house, and you said this, and just give me an offer. When I do that, I give them a range, a big range. Okay, somewhere between 90,000 and 160,000. I'd have to see it. I don't know. You tell the price points we work with. But literally, yeah, somewhere between 90 and 160. They're thinking 160 and I'm thinking 90, but we'll throw it out because it depends. That way you're not pigeonholed into, well, you said $160,000 and that's the only thing I said. And it's like, well, now I see that there's a roof leaking and everything else, okay? So I wanted to kind of go over that. And remember, the main goal again is to build trust and rapport with the seller. All right, really what it is. Anything you do, and it's really, I use this as a cheat sheet, like I said, so I don't get distracted. But when I'm on the phone now, I'm usually driving on something else, or I'll stop and get to my office, or pull over the side of the road to have a conversation with the seller when I'm dealing with that. And I don't necessarily need this because I'm just talking to Denise. Denise, tell me what's going on. And she's going to tell me about her kids. She's going to tell me about this, her divorce, her husband left her, etc. And I'm going to deduce, oh, okay, you've got to sell fast because you have this going on. You lost your job. You're 6 months behind. And you're going to get an idea what kind of problems and situations she's faced with. And then as you keep talking, you say, well, what were you hoping to accomplish here today on the phone? It's more than just, well, I want you to buy my house. Okay? They're thinking that's what it is, give me a number, but really it's how can I solve their problem? And they're trying to decide if they trust me or not, or if they like me. Okay? And I'm telling you something, genuinely care. If you're doing this and you're trying to solve people's problems and you're not the most, say, warmest person, don't try to fake that. Just be real, be you. And you know, again, I had this conversation with someone who goes, I'm not very empathetic to this other person. I said, well, then don't be. Just say, oh man, I don't know what to say. And then go on and do your thing. And then maybe have another empathetic person coming. The other thing with the negotiation, I literally got thrown off a property while I was negotiating with this woman who was losing her house at tax auction in 3 weeks. We bought her house. We bought a house on that street. Her friend said, hey, my friend's in trouble. Actually, I did a deal with Jim on the street. We did this deal with Jim on the street, and then this woman was going to lose her house. We stopped it so she didn't lose. She got money. She told me about her friend, and I took the owner of the house, this lady, to Starbucks to talk for an hour about how we're going to save her house and what we can do. And her husband or boyfriend threw me off the property for daring to take his wife out to get a coffee, okay? He was so mad. I'm like, you're gonna, and I just said, I'm trying to help you from not losing your house. Literally on the grass. And he's showing me, I think Charlie knows where this is going. So I'm talking to him and I'm like, I'm just trying to help, sir. So I left. totally confused. Called a friend of ours that I worked with. She's a good friend of mine, does a lot of deals. She went there, he loved her, but the wife hated her because she was just blonde and everything, she's lovely, and he hated her. So I then sent one of my business partners to talk to. The husband liked him, they both kind of liked him. He called me, he goes, oh, they hate you. So there's like a week left. So I called Charlie. Charlie, they're gonna lose this house. I don't know what to do. Just try to save it, see what you can do, how you can help them. Okay, I didn't get anything signed. I was just trying to solve the problem, make a little money, help them, help up. Charlie gets it under contract. Now, he saw something in the property that I didn't see. He saw something that was worth, his offer was much higher than mine, but he knew the value more because he knows that neighborhood. And he actually got that on contract, got the whole thing solved, and then 2 days before their closing, before the auction, 2 days before the auction, and he's getting ready to close, they call and say, someone's gonna give us like $5 grand more, and he goes, I'm out. So he called me, I just want you to know I'm walking, I don't want to get in the middle of something, because if something goes wrong, he didn't want to get blamed for someone losing their house. See, because he cared. It wasn't just about making money, he also cared. It's one reason why I called him, okay? So again, everything we're talking about, negotiation, doing this, that, there are win-win deals. Those people have saved their house, and this kid got money and not been on the street and could have timed it better, and he either made some money, solved their problem, and everyone wins, okay? But he didn't risk doing something that now they want to get out of maybe because they could get a little bit more and have some animosity, or it's something go wrong and lose the house, because that is the people's lives. So understand everything we're talking about, it might be numbers, and I told sometimes this, I'll say, George, you know, this is just numbers to me. When we work, it's either the numbers make sense or it doesn't, but I know it's your life. And this is a very serious issue. I know it's important to you. But if it works and we can help, great. If not, I'll point you to someone who can. Okay, that might be another agent, my rock star wife, for example, or it might be another investor. So understand, you're not alone. You have other people to call in. You run into trouble, someone doesn't like you, call someone else. There's Jim, there's Andy, there's Charlie, there's just people all over. Call Rich, you know, Tommy. There's people all in this. Call into the number, okay? And that's it for me, I guess. Mr. Charlie, Hustle, come up. And
all right. Thank you, Evan. Turn the mic off. Charlie did not follow directions. Charlie, turn your mic off. Never mind. All right, now you can turn it back on.
Okay, sorry, I'm not that great at following.
Wait, let's do a mic check though. Got it?
All right, yeah, can you hear me?
Everybody hear Charlie okay?
Yeah. Okay, guys, I'm really grateful to be sharing some of my sales experience. I've been doing this since 2017. I actually got started here with Investment Club in 2017. Actually, in 2017, I did 2 deals with the club with no money out of my pocket. No money, and on both of those deals, I made $100K and split 50,000 each, both for the previous people that ran the club, which was Todd and Steven, and I just brought the deal. So I know if you keep coming, I know it works. Okay, so I'm not a professional speaker, so what I really want to ask is, I guess if you guys are willing to participate and really help, okay? Of course, this is sales. So before I really get going, okay? All right, because everyone ate, everyone looks like they're about to fall asleep or pass out, okay? So look, I need the energy to get up, to be up a little bit, okay? So I need you guys to get off your ass a little bit. Get up, get up, get up. And I want you to high five the person to the right and tell them they're awesome for coming today. Come on, give a high five. All right, now turn to them now. Turn to them, high five. Tell them that they're awesome for being here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, have a seat. Okay. I want you guys to give yourselves a round of applause. Right up in here. Okay, so what I'm going to be tapping into, I'm going to be sharing some statistics with you guys, okay? And the reason was is because everyone looked like they were about to like fall asleep and fall over, okay? So in sales, okay, I'm going to share some statistics with you guys. The body language is only 55%. The tonology, it's 38%. The words that we talk, it's only 7%. Overwhelming, 93% for energy. Okay? And the reason I say that is because when you're on the phone, if you're too monotone, that's exactly what's going to happen is they're going to fall asleep, okay? So in sales, it's your job to make them feel good. It's your job to love them, okay? It's your job to hug them. It's your job to be there for them, okay? Because what comes out of your mouth goes into your bank account, okay? So realize that, okay? So, okay, I want to get into the very basics of Sales 101, okay? And I'm going to tell you why most people, when they try and get cold calling, why they usually throw up the first 3 seconds or the first 5 seconds, okay? This is what you got to really keep into consideration. And I took these notes before I came here, okay? So I just jotted some stuff down. I said, you know what, I want to give them real knowledge, okay? I'm hoping here someone picks up some knowledge and it helps them further. Right? You're able to get in contact with an investor, or you're able to get a deal under contract, or you're able to partner someone. Obviously, everyone's here, right? Because, right, they want to learn more so they can make more. All right, here goes. Okay, here's what I want you guys to take into consideration is a high energy, just like we did just a little bit ago, right? We need to get your attention. Okay, match the tonality. They're talking slow, you talk slow. They talk a little faster, you talk a little faster. They're a sweet old lady, you be sweet. If they're red, you be red, okay? Assume that everyone's selling when you're on the phone. Just assume that they are. Put that out there. Don't have any bad thoughts coming in. Assume everyone wants to sell. Lastly is qualifying the property, okay? I'm going to do a little intro for you guys, okay? This is mostly when I get on the phone and it works for me, okay? And I'm going to go a little slow so you understand why I'm doing these things, okay? So, when I get on the phone, I'll use Sierra. When I get on the phone, this is usually how it goes. Hello, Sierra?
Hello.
Hey, this is Charlie. Did I call you at a bad time?
No, okay.
Okay, I was calling because you spoke with Ann about the property there on Main Street, and she said you were interested in selling the property?
I guess.
Are you sure you want to sell the property there? I mean, I've seen the property. It's got good bones. Maybe it needs a little TLC. Are you sure you want to sell it?
Maybe.
So what I'm really doing is, by saying, hey Sierra, Hay's a universal friend. What I'm really doing is disrupting her previous, whatever her thoughts were, I'm trying to erase that. Whatever she was thinking. I want all her attention. Okay? And she's thinking, who's Charlie? I'm disrupting those patterns. Okay? And now when I give her attention, instead of saying this is a good time, I go negative. This is a bad time for calling. And then saying if you want to offer on the property, I'm almost like, are you sure you want to sell it? Are you crazy? Okay? So that has gotten me into a lot of conversations. Okay, if you come out as a friend, you'll be received as a friend. If you come off as a telemarketer, you're gonna get called every name on the book, and then they're gonna hang up on you. Okay? Now the real objection is finding out the why. Okay, we want to find out the reason why they're selling the property. Patients just don't walk into the doctor's office because they feel good. I'm the doctor, they're the patient. I need to know, how can I help the patient if they're not talking? And if they don't want to talk, then maybe they don't need my help. Maybe I should go to the next person that does want my help. Maybe I should talk to the person that's been shot and has gone from the ambulance into the emergency room and now needs surgery right now today. Okay? Because that's the person that I'm really looking for, because I want you to know that you can't mess it up. When someone needs help, you can't mess it up because you're going to know more than they know. The only difference is I hit the phones a lot more than most of you. I got a lot more reps. It's my job to love the sellers. How am I going to keep the lights on? Who's going to pay the bills? Okay? All right, so I'm going to go into establishing the rules. The establishing the rules is, after we got past what we got past, the next thing is, I'm going to ask Sierra, I'm going to ask her if she's got a little bit of time to see if we're going to be a fit or not. Because I don't know if we're going to be a fit. I don't even know if I want the property. Okay? So by establishing the rules, by letting Sierra know, hey, it's going to be 10 or 15 minutes, okay? By the end of the conversation, I'm going to ask you some questions. You'll probably ask me some questions, okay? And by the end of the conversation, I'm either going to have an offer in writing or a denial with an explanation. Okay, you want to play?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Okay. Now, here's what I want to tell you. Before you get into the negotiations, before I get into the negotiations, me and Sierra got to be friends. She has to like me, trust me, and want to do business. And it usually doesn't happen the first time. Maybe not the second time, maybe not the third time, maybe not the fourth time. Okay? But eventually, if they have a problem, eventually they're going to go with you. Okay? Sorry, I lost my train of thought here. Okay, lastly, I'm going to give you guys the secret that works for me. Okay? The reason people really do business with me is the shared experiences that bridge our relationship together. It's a relationship, ladies and gentlemen. It's not a one-night stand. Okay? And we want to do business again, and again, and again, and again, and again. And good business, okay? Because when you do good business, it starts spreading without the community, right? And people start referring you, okay? All right, I'm going to go over some of the objections that maybe that you guys get, okay? Here's what I get often. People want to know right off the bat sometimes, what's the offer? I'm like, damn, we're already on step 3 when we haven't even done the first step. But here's what I really tell them. You have pictures of the property? I want to be fair. I want to give you a fair offer, but like, can you help me? Like, you've seen the property, but can you help me see what you see? Okay? Lastly, when I'm negotiating, I'm always standing up. I'm never sitting down. You can't get enough air. Okay? You can't. And this is the only way is to get enough air. Here's some other objections. Your offer's too low. I think when I hear that, I think I'm in the driver's seat. I think that if I shoot really low and they say yes, I know I have a problem. If they say no, that's when the negotiation starts. Okay? Because we've already spent 30 or 45 minutes talking. Okay, I'm not a stranger anymore. All right? I know about their family. They know about my family. We got shared experiences. Their property caught on fire. One of my rentals caught on fire. Okay? So we have a bond. So when they say the offer's too low, I usually say, I might not be the right buyer for you. I might not be the right person. But what did you have in mind? What did you have in mind? Okay? Maybe I can go back and talk to my finance manager. Okay, so what did you have in mind? Okay, lastly, many times if you are the principal, meaning you are the investor or you're taking front, it's going to be easier for them to, to hang up or to get you out of the way. Here's what I noticed. When I say that I have a finance manager or my boss or some higher up, they're going to give you more information. And now you're able to go back and forth. I'm doing this right now. Another guy that I work with, our corporations do business together, I just called my boss. I said, my boss has got a lot of rentals in that area. Okay? And we don't want to waste your time. I don't want you to waste our time. Okay? I've already sent you the bank statement. It's in your text. Okay? I want you to look it up. I want you to know we're for reals. Okay? If you're not really interested in selling the property, don't waste my time. Just tell me right now. We can still part as friends. Okay? I was role playing, and you're going to throw up a lot at the beginning. You're supposed to throw up a lot at the beginning. But the more you role play, the better you're going to get. And the more you can get on the phone, and the faster they tell you to get off the phone and stop wasting their time, the faster you can get to the person that does really need to sell. And I want to tell you, you're going to get a lot of no's. You can't mess this up. Okay? Out of 100 calls that you get, there's going to be one person that really needs your help. Okay? At the end of the day, it's two things. You got to be either high performing in sales or an integrator. You got to figure out which one you are, and then you got to get really good. Sometimes you can be both. My partner Tommy Smith there, he's an integrator, but he also does sales. He also buys the property. Okay? The best advice that I can tell you is to build that muscle. To start and to never stop. Okay? I want to tell you, not to brag. Okay? 3 months ago, we closed on our biggest deal, $122,000. And from a phone call, from just a follow-up, 122 wholesale fee. I want to inspire you guys. Because who cares? Like, there's other people here that are like, that ain't shit. The guys are making $1 million a month. So that ain't nothing. But progress a little bit at a time. Put your goals up. Block your time. Even I have a problem with this. My biggest problem is making sure that I block the time and I'm continuously pounding the phone. I'm continuously negotiating with people. I'm continuously getting better. I'm continuously writing in my journal. I'm continuously role playing. I'm continuously sending offers. I'm continuously trying to figure out how we can structure a deal. Maybe cash doesn't work. Many times it won't. I just want to say I really appreciate you guys for really hearing me out. Like I said, I'm not a professional speaker by any means. I'm just a real passionate guy about sales. And if you guys have any questions, you guys feel free to get with me afterwards. Yeah, but I think my time is done here.
All right, Charlie. Appreciate it. Turn off your mic. Turn off your mic. There you go. All right, just real quick before we bring Jim up, there is some extra food in the back if anybody wants seconds. And we also have a server this time, Mr. Art back there. If you guys want drinks, just kind of flag him down. And there's also a bunch of cookies and stuff back there as well that my mom brought, Angela. So, and if you need, use the restroom, feel free. We are just going to keep going with the presentation. So, Mr. Jim Keller, is your mic on?
I'm ready.
All right, let's give it up for Jim.
Hello, everybody. Good times? Good times? Hey, first of all, how about Rich, huh? 68 people here tonight. Great job. Great job. Great job. So I'm like an old guy, older than Charlie for sure, and probably older than most here. Well, not older than Santa Claus, but that's hardly relevant. I love the business, guys. I'm kind of like, I failed at I don't know, like 9 different careers, I think it was. I really did. I wanted to be a real estate agent from day one, and I I just didn't do it. You know, I just didn't do it. And I procrastinated. And so I had sales training from some like really crappy companies, some really good companies. I learned a lot of good stuff. I watched a lot of movies. There's a great movie out there, Glenn Ross. You guys, everybody's got to know the movie. I think this is from that movie where they say, always be closing. Correct. I love it. I love that, and I think that's what's most important. And I think back to this is my wife over here. She doesn't come out with me very often, but here she's out with me tonight. We were married almost 35 years. We met at a bar somewhere. That was a long time ago. Nickel Beers, I think they called it. But I was 19, I think it was, something like that when I met her. And I liked girls starting when I was 13, maybe 12, I don't know, okay? But it took me 7-8 years to figure out how to close that deal, how to find a good woman, first of all, how to find a good partner, someone I could actually do business with, someone I could make a family with. It took me I say 8 years. My wife says it took me 22 years, but that's not really relevant. I'm trying to say all of this because most of the people I see here are new, and even if you're older than me, maybe you had a dream and you're still trying to figure out, like, how do I put this together? Okay? I want you to understand, one of us, like the buyer or the seller, is closing the other. So always be closing. So what a great presentation you gave, Evan. That was really, there was a lot of information there. I know I've dealt with some crazy situations. I certainly wasn't around for Charlie's first deal, but I think I was close. Charlie's got some amazing things that you've done, and you're really on point, and it makes me realize how kind of washed up and old I am when I hear you talk, because it's good. It's good stuff, okay? But I want you guys to remember, it's as simple as always be closing. So when I get a phone call from George here, and he says, hey, I've had a go at this guy, and I can't do the deal, I can't get it done. And that to me is why you're at the club. So my wife was a real estate agent, I was a real estate investor, we were trying to get deals done, and I didn't know how to buy when she was the agent. There was a lot of very confusing things that went through each one of the deals. There was all kinds of record keeping that had to be made, and I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to put it all together. And so I had to go and I had to talk to a lot of different people. So George, or whoever it is I'm speaking to, you should be calling, and if it's not me, if it's Evan, if it's Charlie, if it's Santa, I mean, Andy's got a lot of good stuff, okay? I went to Andy's office, which is the Red Robin, and I did 6 hours with him. You were interested. I did 6 hours with him. So I'm just telling you guys right now, it's all here. And if you don't think Andy's always closing, you would be wrong. If you don't think I'm always closing, you'd be wrong, okay? So always be closing, and I'm not going to, although I did think it was interesting about the facts you were giving, the numbers you were giving, I don't want to be that guy. What I want to do is I want to challenge you to get up. You don't have to do it right now. But I want to challenge you to get up and be different. So when George calls me, I can assure you, the first thing I do is go to Redfin. So I have a checkoff list in my mind. You know, a lot like maybe, you know, a lot like I learned how to interview my wife when I met her first. You know, I wanted to know, like, it was important to me that her parents were still married together. It was important to me. It was important to me how she treated her family. Like, these are things that were built, they're built inside of me, okay? And that's really the message I really want to give, like, all of you, is that you have all of this. So if you were if you're a nurse, if you work on a factory floor, if you're a supervisor at a deli, I mean, I don't know, I'm making it up, okay? You already have a checkoff. You already have that. When you meet that person, when you ladies meet a guy, you already know this is not a man I want to speak to, or this is a nice guy, I want to talk to him more. It's men, same way. You speak to a woman, I remember the first time I spoke to my wife on the phone. I hung up the phone. I was in a room with a house that I rented with 6 other men at Cal State Fullerton. And I hung up and I said, wow, that's the kind of girl you marry. So I'm just telling you guys right now, this is that gut feeling that we all have. It's already there. So always be closing. When George calls me and says, I've got this property, I go to my checkoff, and my checkoff list is, I go to Redfin, right off the bat. Is what he's telling me anything close to reality, okay? I have a myriad of other pieces of software, the products that Rich was talking about before are something that are good, but I think you have to be able to utilize your title company. Like My First Stamp is a free application that First American Title will literally give to anyone who asks for it, okay? And on that site, you'll be able to find, because if I'm going to buy George's brother's house, what do I need to know? I want to know the cheapest home ever sold in the last 24 months in that neighborhood. Because if he's telling me I got to pay $600,000 for it, and the cheapest home ever sold in that neighborhood is $200,000, well, this better be a nice house. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got to have some equilibrium here somewhere, okay? So I go to I like First Stamp site because the First Stamp site has a lot of unlisted sales in it, and that's what Charlie does. You understand? Charlie buys houses that aren't listed on the MLS. That's what we're looking for. Like I have a virtual agent that makes 50 offers a week, okay, on the MLS. It's like I'm overrepresented on the MLS. We don't do many deals that way, but what we do, I love that. What we do is when George or when one of you call and say, hey, my friend has a home in, say, Banning that they're offering seller financing on, and it's $190,000, okay? That is something that gets kind of the hairs on the back of my neck to stand up. And when I say always be closing, it's why this afternoon I got that phone call today from one of you. I'm being nice. I knew that this was a really important phone call. This was like a pivotal thing. This was like a big deal for this person, okay? And what I said, hey, today I went to the beach with my wife and daughter. It was nice today. But I said, let me either talk to you tonight or let me call you tomorrow. And we'll really go through this and really take it apart. Because one thing's for sure is I want her to always be closing. And when she picks up the phone, this is like a friend of the mother-in-law, whatever it is. There's some like connection, okay? But I don't want there to be, and you've all heard it before. Well, I think so. Well, you know, I would like to do that. Well, that might happen. Well, like I don't like those words. I don't deliver words like that when I'm trying to buy a house. I say things like, Well, of course, I know the neighborhood sells for $600,000, okay? But, you know, take a look at this beautiful $600,000 house. And I love showing the most beautiful home in the neighborhood because I want to get it right out of their mind. I'm not going to pay them anywhere close to that figure. You know, how much do you think that costs? I mean, these are all, I think, fairly benign questions to be asking a potential seller. I already know the number, okay? And that was one of the reasons, Lisa, I was like, hey, I don't know, like let me get back with you later on because I don't know the number. Is 190 a good deal for a 1-bedroom, 1-bath piece of crap in Banning? I don't know. I don't know for sure. Okay, I got my suspicions. Okay, but I'm going to go and I'm going to put it through my machine. And I recommend all of you already have this machine, and you're saying to me, well, where do I find this? If you truly don't know, if you hadn't thought of calling the title company, who, by the way, insures all of the transactions in Southern California. Of course they have a record of it, or any number of these prop streams or property radar, or there's a bunch of pay services. But I want to get away from telling you all to go out and buy something like that. When I first started, I didn't have any of this kind of stuff, and it was important to me that I got the right information, so I know what the house is worth. I know that it's what it's going to cost to fix the house. And if you're all looking at me going, well, how do you know that? Well, it's because, did you hear what Evan said? I think he spoke of 5 or 6 deals, and I'll bet you all of those deals were like in the last few days, okay? Same thing with Charlie, okay? I don't have as many deals that I'm looking at. I'm not buying like I used to buy all the time, but I did 3 deals in one day, meaning 3 contracts in one day. So I know it can be done. Now, did I start that contract on that day and finish it and then start another? No. It took me a long time to kind of put all of this stuff together. But what I know is that if I get the phone call from George, I put it through my system, I find out what the house is worth, what it's going to cost me to fix, I know right away what I have to do to purchase the property. And I have to agree, I like hearing, well, that's too much, or I need to get paid more. I like going through the property. I like the idea of standing up instead of sitting at the table. Early on in one of my 9 or 10 careers before investing, I sold windows. It was a one-call close, and we get appointments set, and we had a morning, an afternoon, and evening appointment, and it was very structured. It was always couples. You would never pitch just one of the couples. They had a 45-minute warm-up. And so what a 45-minute warm-up means, and I'm telling you all of this because this is part of Always Be Closing, okay? What a 45-minute warm-up is wow, that's a really nice painting you have in the front room here. ABC, what exactly does that mean? And yes, you have to listen. You have to listen to what they say. And then you go to the picture of Johnny throwing the baseball, and you go, oh, he was on the Orioles. And I mean, people look at me, like you're all looking at me right now, like, oh, really? You do 45 minutes of warm-up? But if you don't do warm-up, like, why is anyone they're not gonna listen to you. They're not gonna care. They're not gonna care. You know what they're gonna say? They're gonna say, how much? What's your offer? No, you want an offer on the house? So have you spoken to other people? Like, I'll just use that to go right into something else. Have you spoken to other people? What number are we looking at? Because this is a beautiful home. I wouldn't take less than $1 million for it. Ha 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 ha, like it's humor for me, you know? I'll go back on it, and again, it's kind of campy and stupid, but I want to get them off of their plan. And I do find most of these guys, and it seems to be the guys, you know, they have a plan. You know, they're gonna stick it to me. They're gonna tell me what it is I've got to do. And my job is to get them off this. My job is to get them thinking something else. My job is, first of all, I definitely know the house better than them. I know the repair work better than them. I know the neighborhood better than them. I know all of the houses that have sold in the neighborhood. I know the one that I don't want to talk about, and I know the one I want to talk about. Guess what? I'm not going to give them a price. I'm going to say, hey, did you see the property over on Sorta Street, 321 Sorta Street? It's the cul-de-sac right around the corner, the one at the end on the right-hand side with the block wall in the front of the property. He knows the property. Okay, if he's this guy who's like, what's the number, they know. And if they don't know, I simply pull up my phone and I go, this one right here. Yes, I did. Yes, I know that property. Wow, that was amazing, right? $187,000 for that property. That's $61 a foot. I mean, I'm making these numbers up, but the idea is I want to intimidate the hell out of these people. I want them to know this is my business. I'm very good at it. I know what I'm doing. Simply because of this. Simply because I'm there to solve a problem. I'm just kind of piggybacking on what they both already said. Is I'm there to solve a problem for these folks, okay? And if his problem is he wants $296,000 for a house I can only pay $176 for, we're not going to be a fit. We're not, and that's why I just pack my shit up. You know, I just leave. Actually, I have options that I give to them, and or I've sent other salespeople, other buyers out to properties like this. But because not only do I know the house and the street and what work needs to be done to the house, I have to know what they want. And if it's probate, if it's divorce, guys, I got a house that I'm involved in right now, and the lady owned it for 12 years, and they just stopped paying the payment. And with this COVID situation, now she's paying double payments. It's a mess. It's a 330 4-bedroom 2 purchase, a $330,000 purchase in Moreno Valley on the north side of the freeway. It's a nice little house. I'll make money on the deal, but the lady is forever in my debt because I helped her out of a problem. So I want you guys not only to always be closing is listening to what the problems that they have and solving their problems. And I'm done saying what I wanted to say, but I got to tell you guys, it's a great business. It's a great business. You can travel the world. You can go to the beach on Wednesday when you feel like going. It's a great business. You got to put in the work, though. You got to be the area expert. You got to be the construction expert. There's a lot of hats you got to wear. You got to understand your money. You got to understand your banking, like all of these things. And if you have any questions on any of that, I'd love to share with you what I know.
Thank you. All right, let's hear from Jim. Andy, your mic's off, right? Just a reminder about the drinks. You need to pay for them.
Well, you're not
The food's on the house, the drinks are not.
Jeez. Mr. $25 a month. You think you could cover a $100 bar tab?
Yeah. Well, we could just not eat and just drink next time.
Well, I can feel good thing most days.
All right, Mr. Andy Teasley, everybody.
Wow, look at all these people. 68 of you out on a Wednesday night. Amazing. Would you believe that I have a different opinion than the other 3 people that have been up here? Notice that the 3 people that have been up here are all people that buy houses to sell. I very rarely buy a house to sell. So what's the least important factor to me when I'm negotiating with someone about their house? Price. I'll pay $1 million for a house that's worth $100,000 if my tenants can afford to buy it for me. That's always my question. And I work a very small neighborhood. I don't buy all over Southern California. For the last 5 years, I bought all my houses in one 1,800 unit subdivision. What are the odds that I know exactly what every one of those houses I look at in there will rent for? Now, I have a reputation. I teach a calculator class and I do a lot of notes, so I must have a really fancy formula for calculating my offer, right? I use second grade math. What can I rent it for? Divide by 2, and if I can get that payment, I'll buy the house. I don't care. Now, Jim talked about he does a 45-minute warm-up. That's a really light warm-up for me. I spend 90 minutes getting to the point where they want to adopt me. I'm not a big business. I'm Andy, and I'm here to help. And if I can't help you, then I've failed, and you're going to have no solution to your problem. So during that 90 minutes, I want you all to remember what your mother told you when you were young. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Why is that? Listen twice as much as you talk. Who's going to structure the perfect deal for you to buy that house? The seller. They will tell you how to buy their house if you use these. And I talk about, how do you like the neighborhood? My neighborhood's gentrifying. We're getting all these younger families coming in and they're upgrading all the houses. The older people that have raised their families are finding out that their houses are too big for them and they need to downsize. Or they're getting moved into the old folks' home. Or there's some exciting things, you know, these step living communities for old farts. We can talk about all that stuff. And the goal there is to just make friends. I want them to want to adopt me. What's my goal when I talk to somebody on a phone? Do I want to negotiate a deal? Charlie buys houses on the phone. I have never bought a house on the phone. Ever. In 40 years of doing this business, I have never bought a house on the telephone. My goal when I talk to you on the phone is to get an appointment. Which is better for you, Tuesday or Thursday? Morning or afternoon? Which is better for you, 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock? Give them choices. Never ask a yes/no question unless the obvious answer is no. People are programmed to say no. So when I'm negotiating with somebody to get their house, I will ask a question that says, in the event that I can give you the price you want, and accept your house absolutely as it is, give you the money you need, you say you need to get moved to your next house. Is there any reason why you wouldn't sell me your house? What's the default answer? No, there's no reason I wouldn't sell your house. I wouldn't sell you my house. So always ask questions that the easy answer is no. The answer you want is no. I took notes. How about that? Property profiles, I'm old. One of my biggest challenges in the 80s when I was trying to buy houses, we didn't have all this fancy computer internet stuff in the 80s. We called the title company, we asked for the customer service desk, and we said, I want a property profile with deeds for 1234 Main Street. Then the challenge was, because the title companies back in those days couriered that property profile out to you in about 2 hours. Now when you're 20, sitting on the bed in your bedroom in your parents' house, it's kind of hard to tell them what your office address is. So inevitably I would say, well, you know, my brother-in-law, he works just around the corner from your plant there on Main Street, so I'll just have him stop by on his lunch break. Is that okay? Oh, great, they don't have to pay a courier, they're happy with that. And of course I'd go pick it up because I didn't have a brother-in-law back then. So that was my challenge. Now, because I have good relationships with Chicago Title and Ticor and Stewart, I have access online. I can sign in and pull a property profile which has everything you want to know about that property. And do we have a title sponsor these days, or we're behind between them? Title sponsor? Working on it, okay. Well, there's a good one at LA RIA. I have a lady that's in San Diego who's with Stewart. If you wanted to create deeds, I'll get you hooked up. She'll happily give you access. So you can do all that research yourself for free. And of course, we've got a sponsor here, PropStream, that'll get you most of that in their system. So, I'm big on one-call closes. I suck at follow-up. I close about 80% of the time when I sit down with a seller. We're going to structure something that works about 80% of the time. The 20% of the times where I fail, I don't follow up. Occasionally they will realize that I was the best possibility and they'll call me, but I suck at follow-up. So I'm generally a one-call close person. If you're not a one-call close person and you're good at following up, I mean, you can work a deal for 6, 8, 10, a year, year and a half. I know people that have worked 2 years to get deals put together. And if you're good at following up, great. How many people in the room wrote more than 4 offers last week? Anybody? Charlie? One back there. Who else? Over 4. Jim? That's it. Who did over 6? Over 6? Jim, over 6 last week?
Oh, yeah, the virtual world does like 50 a week.
50 a week, yeah. So, you're not gonna, I guarantee you that you will buy none of the houses you don't make an offer to buy. That's a promise. I can guarantee that statistic. It's been studied. Make offers. Mick was a great guy, and that was the first question he'd ask. Unless you were a guy that was trying to sell a good house, and he'd give you a hard time about selling a good house. But he'd always ask, how many offers did you write last week? And he's right. That's what it takes to buy houses. Write offers. Your net worth is your net worth. This room is a wealth of knowledge to you. How many people in the room have IRAs with money that needs to be invested? Come on, raise your hands. Don't be bashful. You won't get invested if you don't let people know about it. All those people have money. I'm always pissed off because I have money sitting idle in the IRA. So call me if you need help with a deal. I've done, who here has done a loan with me? 2, 3, 4, 5. There's more than that. You guys are all bashful. I like lending my IRA money. So call people. Pete's famous question: why would you sell a nice house like this? When you're negotiating with someone, when you were going to sell a car, everyone in the room has tried to sell a used car, right? When you were getting ready to sell your used car, had you rehearsed the responses to all those questions you knew you were going to get asked? Like, gee, you know this car really needs some tires, and you know those brakes squeak, and there's a dent over here on the fender. You know how to defend every one of those questions, didn't you? Because you were ready for them. But if somebody came to you and said, man, why are you selling a nice economical car like this? Were they ready to answer that question? No. When you ask somebody, why do you want to sell a nice house like this? Were they prepared to answer that question? No. You know what happens when you ask that question? They have to tell you the truth. They don't have a lie prepared. I mean, come on. Everybody's got a lie, for lack of a better term, why the ball tires on their car are better than tires that have tread on them, right? So, but they're not ready for that question. It's a really good question. Now, you're walking in a house that she's got 14 cats, and there's paths through the house, and the stuff is this stacked this high. Who's bought a few of those? Jim's not paying any attention. You know what we ask when we have that? Why would you sell an interesting house like this? Fragrant house, yes. Cat pee smells like money, according to Kiyosaki, and he's right. That's my whole list of stuff here. I slow down a lot when I'm buying a house. I was hired years ago from a big wholesaler who probably most of you know, who works out of Palm Desert. And he said, I want you to come and speak negotiation with me. So we were role playing, right? And I'm talking like I normally talk, except we start doing negotiating. And I slowed down in that southern accent that somehow creeps in when I'm trying to buy something from somebody. Comes in, and I go for about 5 minutes. He says, hold it. Where the hell did the southern accent come from? And I said, I don't know. You said we're role playing. I slowed down, I talked slower, and I slur a little bit, and I channel my Jimmy Napier, and that helps me to buy houses. I'm not a big fancy dude. I'm just old. I've done this a long time. I've stumbled through lots of deals. I've bought houses that I lost money on until I held them long enough, and then it turned around and I made money. Is that a question? He told me I had to wait till after for questions. Is that okay? I understand we're having all four of us up here to answer questions after I shut up. Okay. I can talk for a long time. So, I'm not a business. And unfortunately, I can't talk about all the offers I've written because I've got 50% more rental houses than I want to have today because I knew what my limit was. And I would encourage all of you to take a look at what you need to have freedom in your life. Because Charlie, you work pretty damn hard. And Evan, you work hard. And Lord knows Jim works hard when he's working. I don't want to work that hard. I've got enough tenants. There are 30 families that go out and work 10 hours a week, every week, for the sole purpose of paying all of Andy's bills. Do I need 50? I've had 50. One time I had 51 doors. That was too much work. So I'm down to 30. I wish I was at 20. I'm going to edit things down a little. I would suggest you all read John Schaub's book, Building Wealth One House at a Time, and set your goals much lighter, lower volume. If you could just buy 1 or 2 houses a year for the next 6 or 7 years, you would have 10 houses. If you buy them near your home, you will have 10 times the average rent in your neighborhood, which means that once you get those paid off, you should be netting 5 times the average rent in your neighborhood. And is 5 times the average rent in your neighborhood enough to make you comfortable and give you freedom? Understand that wealth is not money in the bank. Wealth is not lots of little red houses. Money is it greenhouses or red? I haven't played Monopoly in too damn long. It's not big commercial buildings. It's not giant apartments. Wealth is freedom. It's the ability. It's making it to the point in life where you don't have to ask permission. We lost a bunch of my best mentors and friends in the last month, and it dawned on me that I had not gone fishing in 20 years. And I called my dad. I said, Dad, we're going to go up to Lake Silverwood. We're going to rent a boat, and you and I are going fishing. And I took my old man fishing, and he hadn't been out. And we tried to get all this equipment back together because mine is all long lost. And we managed to cobble together enough for both of us to have a rod and a reel and some plugs. But I'm able to do that. My sister has declared that my dad cannot drive himself to Northern California anymore because he's 89. She has a job, just over broke. I don't have one. So when his brother's sick and he needs to get up there in 2 days, he calls me. I clear my schedule. If I'm not scheduled to fly out of state to teach, I can take a week and go hang out with my dad. Worst case scenario, I could go up there with him in his car, hop in a frickin' airplane and come back home, and then fly back up there and drive him back home when he's ready to go. That's why I work. When my daughter was 18 months old, she was diagnosed with a brain tumor. We found out on a Wednesday. On Friday, we were in New York City because that's where the best surgeon for that brain operation was. I was able to do that because I have worked very hard in my life to have freedom and to have some wealth. And I hope that I can encourage all of you to build wealth into your life. You don't need a million houses. You don't need to have a flipping job. And be a servant. That's probably the best lesson I want to close with. The more people you serve, the more wealth you will develop for yourself. Why is McDonald's the biggest franchise in the country? Because they serve lots of people. Billions and billions sold. So the more you can serve people, the better you will be. Learn some creative structures. I've done 2 deals in the last year where I solved somebody's major problem. The last one, the guy needed $15,000. We were 10 days from the county tax auction, and his only solution was he was going to hire a paralegal to file bankruptcy. That was not going to solve his problem. That was just going to kick the can for a year. Well, I came in, and for $15,000, I bought the right to buy his house for half price 5 years from now. Does he owe me any payments? No. Is he going to have to move out in 5 years? Unless he negotiates something with me. But I solved his problem. Now, I'm probably going to end up owning this house someday. I've given him a structure that he can kick the can as much as he'd like for only $200 a month. He can add months onto his option. So, get some education, learn some structures, and choose to buy some keepers. If you love flipping houses because you like paying high taxes, that's okay, but keep 1 or 2 a year. I'm pretty much wound down.
All right.
I need
Mr.
questions.
Andrew Teasley. I'm going to add a couple things and then we'll do some Q&A.
Okay.
So what do you guys think let's poll the audience here. What do you think like the number one thing you heard from everybody was? Serve. Good serve.
Solve problems.
Listen, solve problems. Those are all very important. So would you say that's like rapport building? So it's all about rapport. Like Andy said, people want to adopt him. The last 2 people, the last 2 ladies that I bought a house from, they both wanted me to introduce me to their daughters. And the only problem what I thought was funny was they were both married. So, I was too late, I guess. But we're just in time, who knows? I didn't stick around. But one thing I wanted to add, just a tip, Jim kind of touched on it with the Always Be Closing. I was in high pressure sales for building products, and I was a recruiter for many years. And the one thing that I kind of honed in was pre-closing. So pre-closing is essentially asking leading questions before you ever think you're at the close. So you're asking, so my number one is like if I that initial phone call, before I ever go meet a seller, I find out exactly what they're looking for, no matter what. I want to know that number. Because that's a number that in my head I'm either trying to get to or trying to beat or whatever. So I always want to know that number so that I'm coming in knowing kind of where they're at. And then my whole goal during that conversation is basically like pre-closing. So if we go through the whole sales process and everything that everyone's been talking about all night, and then once I get down or close to that number, like let's say the number's 115 that I'm trying to get to, and they're stuck at like 125 or 120 or whatever it is. Go back to the rapport building, get off the topic for a little while, and then come back to it. And look, if I can get you 120, like if I call, you can play the good cop, bad cop. If I call Evan, the guy who writes the checks, if I call him, and he says he'll do it for 120, you're in. You're in. You'll sign it 120. When they say yes, you're already closed. You've already done the work. So, but it's a little bit less aggressive than like, no, I got to be at 120. Sorry, take it or leave it. It's a little bit nicer way of doing that. And same with there's generally people that like there's other decision makers possibly. also, like the last one I did, it was the daughter had power of attorney for her mom, and so the whole conversation was around dealing with the daughter, and then towards the end, it was getting evident that the real decision maker, like she still had to clear it with her mom, even though she said, no, I have power of attorney, I'm going to be the one signing it, don't worry about it. It was really her mom. So towards the end, I started working towards like, okay, like, what we were coming up with, we were winning with like $5,000, $10,000 of it. It's like, okay, if you like, I was at 180, 185, something like that, or I was at 175, sorry, I was at 150, they were at 175. And I did some hemming and hawing. I was like, okay, if you can get your mom to say okay to 175, let's do it. I think I can make that work. And as soon as she came back from her mom saying, after a 10-minute conversation with them yelling at each other on the phone outside, and like, talking to the husband, building more rapport, came back in and said, let's do it. So immediately you're already close to that number before you even, they do, if you really pay attention, next time you buy a car, they're doing that the whole time. They're asking, what's your payment? What's your payment? What's your payment? What's your payment? What do you want to be at? What can you afford? They're not talking about the price of the car. They just want to know what your pre-close is. Like, what are you going to say yes to? And then they're going to get into that, do everything they can. So, little tip there. With that, let's get everybody up here, and we'll do some Q&A. Go ahead and turn your lapel mics off if you still have them on. We're gonna use the handhelds. So Evan, can you grab me that other one? Just so we don't have feedback issues. Sure. So we might. So.
By the way, if you don't already get my newsletter, I got a pink flyer over there. It's free. If you don't already get my newsletter, there's a pink flyer over there. It's free. You should enjoy it. Maybe be frustrated by it, but there's good information there.
Let's try and squeeze in here so we're in the camera. Charlie. Squeeze in here.
Okay.
Okay.
Is this right?
Bye. Okay. Let's see. What do we got for questions?
Hey, Rich,
Go ahead.
where do you get your leads from?
I'm sorry?
Your leads.
Louis wants to know where we get our leads. He wants to take it.
Okay, so remember earlier when he had everyone stand up and you had to shake hands? Those are the people you get your leads from, okay? So, I'm making a joke, but I'm really not. I came to the meeting today knowing I had someone to speak to at the meeting, okay? And so the problem is, Louis, the problem is you're a secret agent. And I say that respectfully to you. You're a secret agent. Does your brother-in-law know you want to buy a property? That's a question. Does your sister, does your daughter, does the baseball coach of your grandson's team, everybody knows I buy houses that the only thing you can smell is the money coming off the cat urine in the carpet. Okay, I mean that's everybody knows that.
You're an agent, right? So you have to wear two hats, and this is tough for some people. You have to know when you're talking as an agent and when you're talking as an investor. So his question, your brother-in-law knows that you want to buy a house. Does your brother-in-law know that you want to buy a house, not that you want to represent somebody else? Because a lot of people do not get the difference. So you need to make sure that they all know that. By the way, I want you to know. Okay, he knows. That way you want to let everyone else know that, hey, by the way, I know I talked to you that I'm an agent and I represent people and love to help you with a house, but I personally buy, I personally sell. I'm an actual real estate investor. I'm not just doing the transactions. So they all know you're doing that too, okay? Because a lot of times they know if I call Louis, he's going to bring some other buyer in, not Louis going to come in and buy. See the difference? So even if you know another agent, they're going to go, well, who do I know as a buyer? Then they might not think of you because they're just thinking you're another agent. Just keep that in mind.
Hang on one second, Charlie. So, Louis, good question. I'm sure the people have it. For the initial part of this, let's try and keep it to questions around negotiating with sellers. And then we'll open it up for a little bit more, okay? So,
Negotiation question.
Ebony?
Andy mentioned the right to buy his house in 5 years. What do you mean?
I purchased what's called
Let's repeat the question.
Okay, the question was, when I said I bought the right to buy the house, she wondered what I meant by that. See, I do a lot of options. That's a unilateral contract where I have the right, but not the obligation to buy the house. Of course, if I say I want to buy an option, that goes to most of my human beings I'm buying houses from. So I buy the right to buy their house at some point in the future and solve their problem today.
I have an option right now on a property out in Moreno Valley. The lady was $9,200 back in payments. She got a forbearance agreement from her lender. She had to pay double payments. She was already barely cash flowing the property. Now she's upside down $1,400 a month. So I gave her an option that I told her I would gladly make the payments, the double payments, okay? But she needed to essentially extend me credit, and I'm just gonna fix there's a big defect in the property that really makes it, she's unable to sell it anyway else. But the way I structured this, I don't have to come out of pocket with any cash other than the fix-up, and I'm gonna resell it and pay her a negotiated price of $330,000. And so options are a great way to, especially if you have, like most of us can put $35,000 or $40,000 together. Well, for $35,000 or $40,000, you could buy, 14 of the wobbly boxes, or you could flip, one house with that kind of dough. So an option's a good way to do it.
And if you don't have the money, it's in the room.
So is that kind of like allowing them to rent their own house?
She's renting it to me. She's renting it to me for $4,600 a month. It's a lot of money that I don't mind paying, but I don't have a down payment. I don't have financing charges. I don't have anything. I'm paying $4,600 a month, and I would have already paid close to $3,000 a month on a flip loan. So this is a great deal for me. I'm out of pocket maybe $55 cash, and at the end of the deal, maybe we put $80,000 in our pocket on a deal like that. So.
I'm Jamie, I'm a law officer. Hi. I have a question. When you go in to talk to the seller, do you take a contract with you or repairs, if they say yes, you can just do it right there with the seller?
Okay, her question is, when you go in, do you already have a contract ready to show somebody? And I'm the weirdest one up here, so we'll start with me and get the weird stuff out of the way first. When I negotiate to buy a house from somebody, we will come to an accord. I will reach across the table we're negotiating across, I will shake their hand, and I will say, we have an agreement. I believe you're an honorable person and you're going to do everything you said you're going to do. I know that before I miss a payment to you, my family will go without groceries. However, no two people remember a conversation exactly the same way. Would you mind just jotting down a memo of what we've agreed to? And I hold out my spiral notebook and a pen, and they write the contract. When somebody has to sign a 28-page car form, are they nervous? Do they think if you have a 2-page pre-printed form because you're sell thy house? I forgot the name of your company. Is it?
These guys do a contract? Okay.
Yeah, so they stick a contract under your nose. Does that make you nervous? Often.
Be nervous, and that's how you do it.
If you write the contract, how nervous are you? Like I said, I'm the weird one.
I would say eliminate the word contract. Call it something else. Call it an agreement. Call it a proposal. That's I call it an agreement all the time. Hey, it's an agreement. If it doesn't work out,
Take it with you.
I don't normally take it with me. I don't take it with me because I
You have one in your car, though.
I have one in my car.
I have one in my car right now. Never be far from it.
And that's it. We pretty much, like Annie said, right? It's a shared experience. You got to figure out what they want. Because we always come in trying to figure out, okay, what do we have to pay? Where do our numbers have to be? And that's really how you mess it up. Because you never even bother to figure out what they want. What's best for them? How can you help them get to where they're at and to where they want to go? How can you bridge that gap?
Yes, and I have done what Andy said, except I wrote it out on the sheet of paper and used the sheet of paper in the beginning because I didn't know where you get these contracts. So wrote it out, sent it to the escrow, and I did get 50 questions back from the escrow, but it worked, and we didn't buy the house. So it does work. But I now carry the contracts with me, but I don't walk in the house with the contract.
Does everybody know what a legal contract has to have? What are the components of a legal contract? Yeah, so you gotta have the date, you gotta have today's date, you gotta have my name, you gotta have your name, okay? You gotta have a consideration, so I'm giving you a deposit of this amount, or you gotta have the address of the property, you gotta have the date it's gonna close, and how much it's gonna be for, right? So if all of you should know this, okay, and if you don't believe me, Google it. It's a legal contract in the state of California. Okay, I actually had Andy told me to do that. I did it. I put the whole thing in writing with the client. Now, actually, my wife wrote it. We couldn't get the client because she was crying. It was a very hard thing for her to do, to sell her property. Anyway,
one thing for example, on our agreement, on our paperwork, we really have like fill in the blanks, like 6 things, and I let them know, hey, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, there's just a couple things that change. It's really what we're going to pay for it, when are we closing, who's paying what, and whether it's as is, etc. Just like 5 or 6 things, and that's it. Everything else is boilerplate. And so you write it down on a napkin or a sheet of paper or into the agreement. You're only changing those like 5 or 6 things. And sometimes I print out the agreement, and I forgot, and I have it highlighted, so it's highlighted in yellow. I go, those 6 items is everything that changes, that's it. And so most are pretty calm on that, so don't really have any issues.
I got one last thing. One last thing. One day I had a property out here in Rialto, and I met the homeowner down in San Diego at Car Country Toyota, and I spent like 2 hours with her there. And I didn't bring a contract. And to be honest, we had a really great conversation. She told me everything. She told me she had 2 boyfriends. They were both married. She lived a great life. She didn't need money. Anyway, here's a long story short. This for you. We agreed on a price. It was a great price. We agreed on a price. There was no contract. Okay, I called escrow, and I believed what she had told me. And escrow wrote out instructions, so there was nothing signed. All I did is call escrow and say, hey, we verbally agreed, and she wrote out instructions. So don't overthink it too hard. Yeah. I mean, you really should now. I mean, that was at the beginning, right? Now there's I covered myself a little bit more, but the gist is don't make it too hard. Don't overcomplicate it.
One quick thing on contracts. Like I said, if you are a member and you haven't been to the members only section on the website, there's sample contracts on there that may have been used. There's assignment contracts on there also. And if you do come across, a lot of people use car forms when you're not an agent. You're technically not supposed to do that. So be aware of that as well. And yes, I always carry a contract.
Told you I was the weird one. I had one thing that Jim triggered in me that I want to talk about. He said what makes a legal contract. What he really meant to say is what makes an enforceable contract. Now, how do you enforce a contract? You sue somebody and go stand in front of a man who makes his living wearing a black dress. The only way Andy is going to go stand in front of a man who wears a black dress voluntarily is if he's in handcuffs. I don't force people to do anything. If somebody comes along and gives them a better deal than I did, I say, great, congratulations. If it doesn't work out, you call me, I'm always here. My reputation in my neighborhood is more important to me than forcing somebody to do something they really don't want to do anymore.
The legal contract, the enforceable contract though, I don't believe is, I also would never force anyone to close. That's ridiculous. But if this one right here saw that I wrote an enforceable contract, he would back off. He realizes that it's sewn up. They're not gonna do anything. So oftentimes An enforceable legal contract is kryptonite. Okay, that's really what I'm talking about. So it's not to force the people to close. Now, yeah, I might say, hey, we have a contract, but never force.
Okay, I think we're straight on contracts. What's up, Brad?
I'm paranoid about everything, and I was wondering, how often does something happen where, like, let's say, Andy, go, okay, I got this option to do this at the end of the 5 years, but goes, no, I might do that, and you have to go before your friend in the black dress. How often do you get into legal issues where it goes, I don't think so.
I've never had a problem with that because we'll kick the can. If they're not ready to move, we'll talk. The last deal I did for $200, he can add a month to the 5 years. Any day of the week he wants, he sends me $200. I'll give him another month. He can keep kicking that can forever, or he can buy that right back for me. I'll sell it to him as long as I can make an obscene profit. By the way, he asked, how do you enforce an option if they change their mind? You can.
Or just in general legal issues.
It's recorded with the deed of trust, and you just have to foreclose. And I would hire somebody so I didn't have to go see the man in the black dress.
Okay, I know some people are itching to answer the question. We're going to keep going. I want to get some coverage here. We only have a few more minutes. So who else do we have that has a question? That smells.
I love them.
So with houses are just like it just smells so bad, do you bring that up to the seller?
You think they
Okay,
don't
so the
know?
question is, if it smells like pets, a lot of times they don't know, you're right. If it smells like pets, do you bring that up to the seller? Evan, you got the mic in your hand, so go ahead.
Yeah, we do. I normally don't bring it up like you have a problem. What the heck's going on? Literally, it's like they'll see your physical observation seriously when your eyes are watering. And we literally, I was talking about earlier. Miguel and I were in a house recently that had 55 dogs in it. They were hiding about 40 of them outside, and it was bad. And literally, it's just bad. So you're trying to be caring and considerate, understand that there's something else going on. They have a big heart, they're trying to save these dogs, but they're harming the dogs. But we utilize that. It's like, well, I've got to rip out all the drywall, all the way around the house, and rip out all the tile, all the way to the cement to deal with anything pet related. You can say it gently. Okay, it's like, because, yeah, you can do that. It's literally your partner's gagging running out the door. But 3 days, it happens. So, but you got to be considerate because these are people's feelings, and you can share it for later. Like at that moment, we're just trying to get through that. You know?
Okay, what else? What else we got?
Oh, go on,
Any
there's
other
one.
questions?
Jay.
I can't see your name tag. Jay, go ahead.
Yeah, so Jim, you talked about the virtual assistant writing offers for you. How do you structure those offers? And you get them accepted? I mean, how are you?
So it's all done in a formula. The way I'm the most successful is I don't really ever see them unless it's something that's actionable. And have we made the wrong offer in the past? Well, we certainly have. We've been doing it now for.
You're supposed to repeat the question.
Oh, I'm sorry. The question was about virtual assistants and how it's all set up. And I was saying that it's been kind of a trial and error. It's been 5 weeks though. We have 3 contracts that we've won. We make a lot of offers. These are overpriced piece of crud problem houses in Orange County. These aren't like these beautiful, like, you know, $320,000 houses in Riverside that you can sell for $600. They're not those simple deals. They're very hard, difficult deals. All 3 of them we've wholesaled. We haven't actually done the deal. So when I say done the deal, I mean we haven't flipped the product. So it's a very specific, and I'm set up for it, and you will be too someday.
Charlie, do you have VAs?
Yeah, I used to have 5 VAs for a couple of years, and I want to tell you, it's a big learning curve. Here's what I would say. A VA is a virtual assistant, okay? And you can hire them in the Philippines and in Mexico. My virtual assistants, I paid them $4 an hour, full time, and I had 5 of them. And we had them do various things, cold call, and we also, here's what they would really be really good for. Doing all the miscellaneous, mundane, set up standard operating procedures. Set up a process, and then hire someone to do the $4 job that you shouldn't be doing. You should be on the phone where it's the green zone where you're going to be making money, while you pay those other assistants from overseas to do all the stuff like pulling the data, like following up, all those little things that you shouldn't be doing. That would be good to hire someone that's $4 an hour.
All right, we got time for one or two more. What other questions we got there? Can't see your name tag from here, buddy. What was it?
Charlie?
All right, go ahead. Scream it.
Say it louder.
How'd you go about negotiating your first property? First property.
Well, mine was, I'll go with this real quick. Mine was easy because I went through an agent that I was working with because it was a long time ago, and we were looking for distressed houses. They were everywhere. So it was more of just shooting fish in a barrel for that. The first one I did, though, where I was dealing with an individual seller, that one was something I heard he wanted to sell because I knew my neighbor, and we went back and forth just talking. I said, next time you want to sell, please understand I would pay you around $150,000. It was a 5-unit, and if you ever want to sell again. And he called me about 2 weeks later and says, Evan, if you want it, I need $108,000, and I need it in like 8 days. And I had known this guy for a little bit, and he wanted to sell it, and so I then said, no problem, we can close. Got off the phone and had to then scramble and figure out how to come up with $40,000 in 8 days, get a lender, and close. And that was the first person-to-person, non-agent related. He was an agent, but he owned the property himself. But I knew it because I knew my neighborhood, and I knew the neighbor where I was already working, investing, even though I bought those houses with an agent.
I want to mention this. I feel really grateful for being, up here with all these guys. I've known all these guys since 2015. All these guys I work with, and I just want to say I'm really grateful to be here with these guys. So, here's one thing that I want to leave you guys with. I used to be a door knocker for Home Investors of America, which is we buy the K-Band guys. We buy ugly houses. So I start off in the foreclosures. Here's one tip that I would give you guys. Get this book. It's called Asking Questions the Sandler Way. Okay? And the Home Investors of America, they take this course. You can actually Google it. Yeah, sure. It's Asking Questions the Sandler Way. The Sandler. Oh, sorry. Sandler Way. Sorry, it's my thick accent. The second book, it's Asking Questions the Sandler Way.
So one thing I didn't mention.
Get on the club website, and it'll have an Amazon link, and you can help us support our activity.
Yeah, we have a bookstore on the website. It's books.ieic.org. I will add those two to there.
Okay.
And John Schaub's book that got mentioned earlier is on there already.
Lastly, Active Listening 2.0. God knows that I need a lot of that. So check those 2 books out. Start with the very basic, and hopefully it helps you guys out. Oh, sorry. Active Listening 2.0.
See, you weren't listening.
And that's by Steve Tran.
We all need this book.
Yeah, see, you weren't listening. Active Listening 2.0, and it's by Steve Tran. Actually, he was one of my mentors, and I actually learned sales and standard operating procedures.
All right, thank you, Charlie. That seems like a good place to stop. So let's give everybody a round of applause. And we have the room for another about 30 minutes or so feel free to hang out, network. There's some cookies, coffee, some drinks in the back. And again, the Exchangers meeting is tomorrow at 11 a.m. And the Mentor Mixer, if you have more questions, is at the end of the month, the 4th Wednesday. Thank you.